guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are doing number 8 in the book What If God Wrote Your Bucket List by Jay Payleitner. And the title of today's bucket list number is Don't Put God in a Box.
We're gonna start reading and talk about a few things as we go. As lovely as that last chapter was, here's a warning. Don't put God in a box labeled with the single word love. Yes, God is love, but that truth is often tragically misinterpreted. A well-meaning person might say, wear, post, or display those 3 words, God is love, without even realizing the damage being done. Our human limitations prevent us from accurately defining what love is or who God is. Reducing God to a single concept, even the wonderful idea of love, is dangerous territory. God is love and more. God is truth, God is justice, God is life, God is mercy, God is righteous, God is sovereign. Millions of people on the planet are looking for love in their lives. Many have been looking in the wrong places and making devastating choices, which means they're hurting. They need God to be mercy and truth. Millions more have suffered tragedies that make them question why God allows bad things to happen to good people. They need God to be alive and sovereign. Millions more have dedicated themselves to loving and serving, but have still been broken by the inhumanity and darkness of this fallen world. They need God to be justice and righteousness.
So that part kind of reminded me of the Trinity, and I'm not going to really go into detail describing the Trinity. I think if you have questions about that, you should probably talk to your pastor or some of the elders in your church who can describe it to you. But when I think of the Trinity, I always think of God the Father, and then Jesus, and then the Holy Spirit. And it kind of split that up into 3 little parts there. And it made me see that above love, some of the other qualities that God has for us. And so I like to think of God the Father as sovereign and just. Then we have Jesus, who came to earth and lived a human life. And to me, that makes him more able to give us mercy and compassion in knowing that he suffered some of the things that we go through as well. Then there's the Holy Spirit, who is always with us and gives us guidance and comfort. So that's kind of what that reminded me of. And then he goes on to say, the truth is we all need God to be all those things. The Bible has been accurately described as God's love letters to each one of us. That idea is still not big enough to capture all of God's glory. He is beyond our imagination. The controversial theologian David Jenkins, Bishop of Durham, put it this way: no statement about God is simply literally true. God is far more than can be measured, described, defined in ordinary language, or pinned down to any particular happening. Do you know someone in need? Don't hand them God in a box. That's way too small. If they're hurting, your best response is to come alongside and let them see God's compassion reflected in your life. Start with empathy, hope, and gentleness. Let them know weeping may last through the night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalms 35. That's Psalms chapter 30, verse 5. That all kind of ran together. If they're living without purpose, remind them that they are loved and God is faithful. Let them know God's promise in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. If they are antagonistic towards God, make sure you tell your own story of how you were lost and then found. Remember that Jesus told the formerly demon-possessed man in Mark 5:19, go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. We are God's ambassadors. Every time we show compassion, help a friend see hope for future, or share our own personal story, those are all things we can do right in the moment. Later, the role expands when we are intentional intentional about introducing people to the all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present God of the universe. That will probably require words, clear words that explain as best as we can how God doesn't fit in a box. We can know him, we can even communicate with him, but we cannot comprehend his majesty. Finally, here's an even better idea than coming alongside those who are hurting, frustrated, or doubting. Reach them before they hit bottom. Introduce them to the Creator of the universe early, and the Spirit of God will help them see how every aspect of their life fits into the larger plan. Trouble may still come, but they'll see the bigger picture and trust that somehow the pieces all fit. Finally, this should go without saying. Please let's not be so foolish that we try to stuff God in a box we keep in a closet and pull out only on Christmas, Easter, and the occasional wedding and funeral. He's calling people out. So we'll never fully understand and know who God is in his entirety. But I know that throughout my life there have been many victories and many trials and many hardships. And whether it be good or bad, I know that God has always been faithful to me in the promises that he gives us.
The last thing he says is, it's actually kind of silly when mere humans attempt to define God. We should acknowledge that God can never really be described in words, captured on chapel ceilings, chipped out of stone, or identified in hymns. But you can't blame us for trying. After all, he is the Alpha and the Omega of all we see, hear, and touch, and our entire lives should revolve around his relationship with us.
So then he just has his little main point on the bottom of the book, and it says, recognize the majesty of God. So he's just trying to remind us that God's way more than we could ever imagine. And I hope that you find that in your life.
That's it for this study. We hope you guys got something out of it.
So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, don't forget to shine.
Bye.